Allison Carter yawned as she stared at the computer screen. Another late night at NASA's Signal Analysis Lab. The coffee beside her had gone cold hours ago. She rubbed her tired eyes and was about to call it a night when something caught her attention. A pattern in the noise, something different from the usual cosmic background radiation. "That's odd," she whispered to herself. The signal repeated in perfect intervals, too perfect to be natural. Allison's heart began to race as she ran the verification protocols. After 3 confirmations, her hands were shaking. This was it, the thing scientists had been searching for since humans first looked up at the stars. Proof of intelligent alien life. She picked up the phone to call her supervisor. Across the galaxy, in a massive orbital structure known as the Hall of Unified Species, an emergency session of the Galactic Council was underway. 300 representatives from different spacefaring civilizations sat in tiered seats around a central projection area. The atmosphere was tense. "The data cannot be disputed," said Representative Zorax, his blue scales reflecting the light as he gestured to the holographic display. "The humans of Earth have progressed from primitive radio technology to rudimentary space travel in less than 200 years. No other species in our records has advanced so rapidly." Murmurs spread through the chamber. The display showed a timeline of human technological development, with an exponential curve that showed no signs of slowing. Elder Xanthu, one of the oldest members of the council, raised a wrinkled hand. "Perhaps it is time we made contact. Guide them before they harm themselves or others." "Contact would be premature," countered Representative Morda of the Vrol Imperium. Her metallic voice echoed in the chamber. "The humans are violent and unpredictable. Their history is filled with war. They should be contained until they mature." The debate continued for hours. Some argued for immediate contact. Others pushed for quarantine. A few extremists even suggested more drastic measures. None realized that their own communications had already been detected. Back on Earth, in a secure military facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Major Daniel Wright was escorted through multiple security checkpoints. His new assignment had come directly from the Joint Chiefs. All he knew was that it was classified above top secret. The final door opened to reveal a room filled with advanced computing equipment. A team of civilians and military personnel worked at various stations. "Major Wright," said a gray-haired man in a suit. "I'm Director Paul Jenkins, NSA. Welcome to Project Sentinel." Wright shook his hand. "Thank you, sir. May I ask what this is about?" Jenkins nodded to a technician who brought up a sound file on the main screen. 3 months ago, we intercepted this." He played the file. Wright heard nothing at first, then recognized patterns too regular to be random. "It's a signal, sir." "Yes, but not from Earth." Jenkins let that sink in. "And it's not directed at us. We caught it by accident. It's communication between multiple non-human entities. We've been working to decode it." Wright studied the visual representation of the signal. "Have we made progress?" "Some. We know they're talking about us." Jenkins handed him a folder. "And they don't all seem friendly." Wright opened the file and saw partial translations. Words like containment, potential threat, and intervention options. "Your background in cryptanalysis and strategic planning makes you perfect for this project," Jenkins said. "We need to understand what we're dealing with before we decide how to respond." Wright nodded slowly, the weight of the situation becoming clear. "How much time do we have?" Jenkins looked grim. "Based on signal origins and what we've decoded so far, we believe they're much more advanced than us. If they decide to come here." He didn't finish the sentence. "Then we better work fast," Wright said. Neither man spoke what they were both thinking. Humanity had just discovered it wasn't alone in the universe, and some of their new neighbors didn't seem happy about the new kid on the block. 5 years passed. The Galactic Council's Great Hall was filled to capacity. After years of debate, they had finally reached a decision about Earth. "The motion carries," announced High Chancellor Gorn, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Earth will be placed under quarantine until humans prove themselves worthy of galactic citizenship. Elder Xanthu rose slowly from his seat. And how long do we expect this process to take? Based on standard development patterns, approximately 300 years, replied Representative Zorax. A mere moment in galactic time. Let the record show that I object to this decision, said Xanthu. The humans deserve the same chances we all received. His objection was noted but ignored. The Council appointed Ambassador Thelkar to deliver their message to Earth. Thelkar's ship entered Earth's orbit 1 week later. Despite the Council's advanced cloaking technology, human radar systems detected the vessel immediately. This surprised Thelkar. Human technology had advanced faster than their reports indicated. President Eleanor Morgan sat at the head of the table in the White House Situation Room. Around her were top military officials, scientists, and UN Secretary General Vincent Garcia. The alien craft is requesting permission to land, said General Howard. Granted, President Morgan said, but keep all defensive systems ready. When Thelkar stepped out of his ship at the designated landing zone in Nevada, he was greeted by an honor guard and a delegation of world leaders. His tall, slim figure and pale blue skin caused whispers among the gathered crowd. We welcome you to Earth, said President Morgan, stepping forward. I bring greetings from the Galactic Council. Thelkar replied through his translation device. His eyes widened when he noticed a small craft in the distance. Is that a faster-than-light ship? Dr. Adams, the lead scientist, nodded. Our first prototype. It can travel 5 times the speed of light. Thelkar tried to hide his shock. According to Council records, humans should be decades away from such technology. During the formal meeting that followed, Thelkar delivered the Council's message. The Galactic Council has determined that Earth will be placed under quarantine until your species demonstrates sufficient maturity. You will be confined to your solar system for approximately 300 years. A heavy silence fell over the room. And if we refuse? Asked Secretary General Garcia. Refusal is not an option, Thelkar stated. The quarantine will be enforced through automated defense systems placed at the edge of your solar system. President Morgan's expression hardened. So you're not offering us membership. You're imposing restrictions. It is for your own protection, and that of other species, Thelkar explained. Your development has been unusually rapid. The Council believes you need time to mature culturally before joining the galactic community. I see, said President Morgan. We will need time to consider this information. Later that night, after Thelkar returned to his ship, the world leaders gathered again. This is not about protection, said General Howard. They're afraid of us. I agree, said Secretary General Garcia. They've seen how quickly we advance, and they want to control us. President Morgan looked around the table. Then we have a choice to make. Accept their terms and be prisoners in our own solar system, or find another way. We've suspected alien life existed for years, said Dr. Adams. That's why we've been pushing our space program so hard. We have contingency plans. Implement them, ordered President Morgan. All of them. If the Galactic Council won't accept us as equals, we'll find our own path among the stars. Across the globe, the news spread. Humanity faced its first contact with alien life, only to be told to stay in the corner like naughty children. The response was not fear, but determination. Space agencies worldwide accelerated their programs. Military installations went on alert, and in secret facilities, scientists worked day and night on technologies that would soon shock the Galactic Council. In orbit, Thelkar observed the increased activity with growing concern. Humans were not reacting as expected. Instead of fear, he sensed defiance. He sent an urgent message to the Council. The situation may be more complicated than we anticipated. 10 years passed with little direct contact between Earth and the Galactic Council. The automated defense systems at the edge of the solar system watched, but did not interfere with human activities within their designated zone. What the Council did not know was what happened behind closed doors on Earth. NASA Director Samuel Powell stood in a massive underground hangar in Arizona. Above him towered the skeleton of what would become humanity's salvation. Construction drones swarmed over the massive structure like bees on a hive. "Impressive, isn't it?" said a voice behind him. Powell turned to see Laura Holt, the richest woman on Earth and the primary funder of Project Exodus. "When will the first ship be ready?" Powell asked. 6 months, Laura replied. "The other 9 will follow 1 month apart. Each one can carry 100,000 people." Powell nodded. "And the destinations?" Laura handed him a tablet showing star maps. "We've identified 20 potentially habitable systems beyond Council space, far enough away that they won't find us easily." What they discussed was humanity's greatest secret. Project Exodus represented the combined efforts of every major nation on Earth. 10 enormous ships designed to travel to distant stars and establish human colonies beyond the reach of the Galactic Council. Meanwhile, in another facility, engineer John Miller made a breakthrough that would change everything. "It works," he shouted, watching as the small model engine glowed with blue energy. The other scientists in the lab cheered. This new drive would make the Exodus ships travel 10 times faster than planned. Instead of a journey taking generations, it would take years. But in space, watchful eyes never blinked. A Council surveillance drone, pushing the edges of permitted territory, captured unusual energy readings from Earth. The data was sent back to the Council. Representative Zorax studied the readings with alarm. "These energy patterns match early stages of Class 4 propulsion systems," he told the emergency session of the Council. "The humans appear to be building large ships. Very large ships." The Council chamber erupted in angry shouts. "I warned of this," Zorax continued. "They plan to break quarantine. We must stop them now, before they spread across the galaxy like a disease." Elder Xanthu raised his hand for silence. The quarantine was meant to contain them within their solar system. It does not authorize military action against them. "Then increase the quarantine measures," demanded Representative Morta. "Block all travel beyond their moon." After heated debate, the Council voted to increase surveillance but not to take direct action. It was a compromise that pleased no one. Back on Earth, the first hints of Council surveillance were detected. "They're watching us more closely," President Morgan told the Exodus Leadership Council. "We need to accelerate our timeline. The first ship can launch in 3 months if we push," said Laura Holt. "But we'll need to distract the Council from what we're doing." General Howard smiled. "I have just the thing. We'll stage military exercises near Mars. Make them think we're building defenses, not escape ships." The plan worked. When Council drones observed increased activity near Mars, they focused their attention there. Meanwhile, deep within Earth's crust, the Exodus ships neared completion. John Miller's new engine was installed in the lead ship, now named ESS Pioneer. Tests showed it worked perfectly. The revised calculations meant the journey to the first colony world would take just 12 years instead of over a century. "We'll need to test it in real space conditions," Miller told Director Powell. "But we can't risk the Council seeing it." "We have a plan for that too," Powell replied. "In 2 weeks, we're sending a decoy mission to Jupiter. While the Council watches that, we'll test your drive in the shadow of Saturn." As humans prepared in secret, the Council continued their debates, unaware that their ultimatum had not crushed human spirit, but ignited it. Humanity wouldn't wait 300 years for permission to join the stars. They would find their own way beyond Council reach. The Exodus was coming. The peace ended on a Tuesday. Without warning, 5 Council ships from the militant Vrul faction broke through Earth's orbital defenses. Their target, the shipyards hidden on the far side of the moon, where several Exodus vessels were under construction. Alarms blared throughout the Pentagon as Defense Secretary Patricia Bennett rushed into the crisis room. "Status report," she demanded. "5 alien vessels attacking our lunar facilities," said Admiral Stan Johnson. "They've destroyed 2 defense satellites and damaged the outer hull of Exodus Ship 3. Bennett's face hardened. "Activate Saber Protocol." Across the solar system, Hidden weapons platforms powered up. Earth had been preparing for this possibility for years. The lead Vrol ship, commanded by Sub-Commander Krell, moved in for another attack run on the shipyard. Suddenly, his tactical officer shouted a warning. Energy signatures detected. Multiple sources. Before Krell could react, 12 previously invisible defense stations revealed themselves and fired in perfect coordination. Beams of blue energy struck the Vrol ships. 2 exploded instantly. A third spun out of control, trailing debris. Impossible, Krell whispered as his ship shuddered under the assault. Their weapons should be primitive. On Earth, Bennett watched the battle unfold on the main screen. Order the Apollo Squadron to launch. Protect those shipyards at all costs. 20 fighter craft, incorporating technology reverse-engineered from Council surveillance drones, streaked from Earth toward the Moon. Their pilots had trained for this day for years. Captain Julie Green led the squadron. Apollo Squad, weapons free, defensive pattern Delta. The human fighters engaged the remaining Vrol ships. The battle was brief but fierce. When it ended, all 5 Vrol vessels were destroyed or disabled. The cost was high. 3 human fighters lost, and severe damage to the lunar shipyard. In the Galactic Council chamber, chaos erupted when news of the skirmish arrived. The Vrol attacked without authorization. Elder Xanthu shouted above the noise. This is a direct violation of Council law. Representative Zorax countered. They acted to prevent human expansion. The real shock is that humans possessed weapons capable of defeating our ships. The Council viewing screen showed footage of the battle. Many representatives gasped at the sight of human fighters, maneuvering with unexpected skill and technology far beyond what should have been possible. Elder Xanthu used his authority to order an immediate ceasefire and opened emergency communications with Earth. President Morgan answered the call, her expression cold. Is this how the Galactic Council honors its agreements? With surprise attacks. The attack was unauthorized, Xanthu explained. The responsible parties will be punished. That brings little comfort to our dead, Morgan replied. This changes everything. We considered your quarantine unfair, but were willing to work within it. Now you've shown we can't trust your word. The Council hastily offered concessions, medical technology, limited travel rights within nearby systems, removal of some quarantine restrictions. But the damage was done. Trust, barely established, was now shattered. In a secure medical facility beneath Geneva, Dr. Lisa Montgomery made a discovery that would change humanity's future even more. She had been studying tissue samples from a Vrol pilot captured during the battle. Look at this comparison, she told her colleague. Human DNA versus the aliens. Focus on these sequences. The other scientists studied the screen. They're similar, but the human version shows signs of, wait, is that what I think it is? Dr. Montgomery nodded. Dormant psychic abilities, far more powerful than what the Vrol possess. I think I understand now why they wanted to contain us. This information was immediately classified. Only the highest levels of government were informed. The revelation accelerated the Exodus preparations. If humans developed these abilities naturally, away from Council influence, who knew what they might become? The first war between humanity and the stars had lasted less than a day. It ended in a human victory that shocked the galaxy. But for Earth's leaders, it confirmed what they already suspected. There was no future for humanity under Council rule. The stars would be their home, but not on the Council's terms. Dr. Lisa Montgomery stood before the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the President in the White House Situation Room. Her discovery about human DNA was now the most closely guarded secret on Earth. To put it simply, she explained, humans have dormant genes that would allow for telepathic and telekinetic abilities. Based on the Vrol DNA, these abilities in humans would be at least 10 times stronger than any Council species. Is that why they'd wanted to contain us? Asked President Morgan. Almost certainly, Dr. Montgomery replied. They fear what we might become. The room fell silent as everyone processed this information. This stays at the highest security level, ordered President Morgan. Now more than ever, we need to complete the Exodus project. Diplomatic Officer Eric Mason was chosen to lead negotiations with the Council while the Exodus preparations continued in secret. Mason was uniquely qualified. He had studied the intercepted Council communications for years and understood their politics better than anyone. Mason met with the Council delegation on a neutral space station near Mars. His job was to appear cooperative while gathering intelligence and buying time for the Exodus fleet. Earth understands the need for caution, Mason told Elder Xanthu during their third meeting. We are willing to accept limited expansion rights within our solar system while we prove ourselves worthy of full membership. This is a welcome change in attitude, said Xanthu, clearly relieved. The Council can begin sharing basic technologies as a sign of good faith. What Xanthu didn't know was that all his communications were being intercepted and decoded by Earth intelligence. After each meeting, Mason would send the real information back to Earth. They're planning to allow us limited expansion, Mason reported to President Morgan over a secure channel. But only to create economic dependencies. They want us to become reliant on their trade networks. How much time have you bought us? The President asked. At least 8 months before they expect visible progress on their terms. That should be enough, said Morgan. The first 5 Exodus ships will be ready in 6 months. Meanwhile, in the massive underground facilities across Earth, the final preparations for humanity's departure accelerated. The Exodus ships were now nearly complete. Each vessel was 5 miles long and could sustain 100,000 people for decades if necessary. With John Miller's new drive system, they would reach their destination in 12 years rather than centuries. On the Galactic Council, not everyone was convinced by humanity's apparent cooperation. Council observer Kirillin, known for his careful analysis, noted discrepancies in Earth's resource usage. They claimed to be building orbital habitats. Kirillin told a private session of the Council's Security Committee, but the materials they're using would suggest much larger structures. Do you have proof of deception? Asked Representative Zorax. Not yet, admitted Kirillin, but their energy usage patterns don't match their stated projects. Monitor them more closely, ordered Zorax, but take no action without Council approval. We cannot risk another military incident. Kirillin increased surveillance, but humans had become experts at hiding their true activities. When Council drones observed construction in one area, it was often a decoy to draw attention from the real work elsewhere. In Geneva, Dr. Montgomery continued her research into human psychic potential. She made another startling discovery. The dormant abilities begin to activate in deep space, she told the science team, away from the dampening effect of Earth's magnetic field. This meant the Exodus travelers might develop abilities during their journey. This information was immediately added to the mission briefings for the ship captains. As the launch date approached, humanity walked a dangerous line. On the surface, they played along with Council demands, but beneath the facade of compliance, Earth prepared for the greatest journey in human history. The Council, still divided on how to handle humans, continued their debates while watching Earth's apparent cooperation with growing relief. Only a few, like Kirillin, sensed that something wasn't right. But by the time they would discover the truth, it would be too late to stop what was coming. The day of departure arrived. 50 massive Exodus ships hovered in Earth orbit, hidden from Council observation by new cloaking technology. Captain Olivia Russell stood on the bridge of the lead ship, the ES Horizon, watching as the final preparations were completed. All systems are green, reported her first officer, Jack Nelson. The other 49 ships report ready status. Olivia nodded. Begin boarding procedures. Across the globe, 10 million chosen humans said goodbye to those staying behind. They were selected for their skills, genetic diversity, and psychological stability. Each carried the hope of humanity among the stars. The boarding process took 3 days. Massive shuttles ferried people to the waiting ships in a carefully planned operation. Council observers noticed increased shuttle activity, but were told it was for the new orbital habitats that Earth had promised to build. On the final day, President Morgan addressed those leaving and those staying behind in a global broadcast. "Today marks the beginning of a new chapter for humanity," she said. "Some of us will journey to distant stars. Others will remain to protect Earth. But we are one people, no matter the distance between us." What she didn't say publicly was that Earth would not be defenseless. 5 million soldiers and scientists would remain behind with advanced weapons and shield technology. Their mission: protect the homeworld and ensure the Council never learned the Exodus fleet's destination. In the Galactic Council chamber, Kirillin finally presented his evidence. "The humans are planning something major," he told the emergency session. "Energy readings from Earth orbit suggest multiple large vessels." "Where is this evidence?" demanded Elder Xanthu. "Our observation drones captured these readings yesterday," Kirillin replied, showing the data. "Whatever they're building is nearly complete." The Council erupted in debate. Representative Zorax called for immediate military action. Others urged caution after the last disastrous conflict. "We should send a delegation immediately," suggested Representative Morda. "Demand answers before taking action." The Council voted to send their highest-ranking diplomat, Grand Arbiter Zuntar. His ship departed immediately for Earth. But it was already too late. Captain Russell received the final launch codes from Earth Command. "All ships, prepare for departure. Activate cloaking systems and engage formation pattern Delta." The massive engines of 50 Exodus ships powered up simultaneously. The energy surge was impossible to hide completely. Council observation posts throughout the solar system detected it immediately. Zuntar's ship was halfway to Earth when he received the alert. "Increase speed," he ordered. "We must reach Earth before they launch whatever they're planning." On Earth, Chief Diplomat Ryan Foster prepared to meet the incoming Council ship. His job was to delay them as long as possible. The Exodus fleet rose from Earth orbit in perfect formation. Captain Russell studied the navigation charts one final time. Their destination was the Andromeda Galaxy, far beyond Council territory. "Commence final countdown," she ordered. FTL drives charging. The Council ship carrying Grand Arbiter Zuntar arrived in Earth orbit just in time to witness the unveiling of the Exodus fleet as they dropped their cloaking shields. "By the ancient stars," whispered Zuntar as he saw 50 enormous ships, each larger than the biggest Council vessel ever built. "Contact them immediately." His communications officer opened a channel to the lid ship. "This is Grand Arbiter Zuntar of the Galactic Council. You are ordered to stand down and explain your actions." Captain Russell smiled as she replied. "This is Captain Olivia Russell of the Earth Fleet Ship Horizon. We acknowledge your message, but we do not recognize Council authority over human movement. We go to find our own destiny." Zuntar's next transmission was more desperate. "Wait. The Council is prepared to offer full membership, technological exchange, and protected expansion rights. There is no need for this extreme action." On Earth, Ryan Foster received the same desperate offer. He responded with a diplomatic smile. "We appreciate the Council's generous offer, but humanity has made its decision." In orbit, the 50 ships of the Exodus fleet activated their FTL drives simultaneously. A brilliant flash of blue light engulfed them as they accelerated beyond light speed, leaving the solar system in seconds. A Council ship could only watch helplessly as humanity departed for the stars. 3 years passed since the departure of the Exodus fleet. The Galactic Council was still in turmoil over humanity's unexpected escape. "How could we have missed preparations of this scale?" demanded the new Council leader, Trazun, who had replaced the disgraced former leadership. "They deceived us at every turn," explained Representative Zorax. "More troubling is what they left behind." The Council viewing screen showed images of Earth. The planet remained inhabited by several billion humans who had chosen to stay. More concerning to the Council were the orbital defense platforms surrounding Earth and its colonies on Mars and Europa. The weapon systems were far more advanced than humans should possess. Our attempts to approach Earth space have been met with clear warnings, reported Military Commander Vexnor. They have established a defensive perimeter extending to the edge of their solar system. And the Exodus fleet? Asked Trazon. Council scientist Eritel stepped forward. We have determined their trajectory. They are using unknown hyperspace routes that do not appear in our star charts. This news sent a wave of mutters through the chamber. The oldest council races had mapped the hyperspace lanes thousands of years ago. The discovery of new routes was unprecedented. More disturbing, continued Eritel, is that they are traveling much faster than their technology should allow. At their current speed, they will reach the edge of our mapped galaxy within 15 years. We cannot allow this, declared Representative Morda of the Vrol faction. Imagine millions of humans with their advanced technology and potential psychic abilities spreading unchecked through the cosmos. After heated debate, the militaristic factions won the argument. The Council authorized a pursuit fleet comprised of 20 of their most advanced vessels. Commander Dravkor, a decorated Vrol officer, was given command of the mission. Find them, determine their destination, and report back, ordered Trazon. Do not engage unless absolutely necessary. As the pursuit fleet prepared to depart, Eritel made a breakthrough in tracking technology. By analyzing the dimensional wake signatures left by the human ships, she could follow their exact path even years later. This will allow you to trace their course through hyperspace, she told Commander Dravkor. But be warned, they are traveling through regions of space even we have not explored. Dravkor dismissed her concerns. No human fleet can outrun Council technology. The pursuit fleet departed, following the trail of the Exodus ships. Meanwhile, aboard the human flagship HFY Horizon, Navigator Kelly Freeman noticed something unusual in the sensor readings during her regular shift. Captain Russell, she called over the ship's communication system. I think you should see this. Captain Olivia Russell arrived on the bridge minutes later. What have you found? Kelly pointed to the sensor display. These energy patterns behind us. They're faint, but they match the signature of Council warp drives. Russell studied the readings. How far behind us? Based on these readings, about 3 light years in closing. Russell frowned. They're following our hyperspace route exactly. That should be impossible unless... She trailed off, then hit the ship-wide communication system. Chief Engineer Roberts to the bridge immediately. Paul Roberts arrived moments later. Russell explained the situation. They've developed some way to track our dimensional wake, she concluded. Can you do anything about it? Roberts thought for a moment. Maybe. The dimensional barrier project we've been working on could be modified. Instead of creating a protective shell around our colony planets, we could create a permanent barrier behind us. Would it stop them? Asked Russell. It would do more than stop them, Roberts replied. It would create a permanent dimensional wall that no technology could penetrate, but we'd need to sacrifice one of our generator ships. The decision was difficult but necessary. Captain Russell called an emergency meeting of all 50 ship captains via holographic conference. After explaining the situation, they voted unanimously to proceed with the plan. Engineer Roberts and his team began working around the clock to modify the barrier technology. Meanwhile, the Council pursuit fleet continued to gain ground, unaware that the humans had detected them. The race through the stars had begun. But humanity had one final surprise prepared, one that would forever separate them from the Council's reach. The Exodus fleet approached their destination, a cluster of star systems beyond Council maps. On the bridge of the HFY Horizon, Admiral Frank Hudson, who had replaced Captain Russell after her promotion to fleet commander, studied the long-range scans. 12 habitable planets, he said with satisfaction. Just as our probes predicted, we'll have room to grow. But the moment of triumph was dampened by the proximity alarm. The Council pursuit fleet was now less than half a light year behind them. Status of the barrier device, Admiral Hudson asked. Chief Engineer Roberts looked up from his workstation. Ready, sir. Generator Ship 7 has been evacuated. All personnel and essential equipment transferred to other vessels. Hudson nodded grimly. The loss of a generation ship was significant, but necessary for their survival. Begin final preparations. Across the fleet, people prepared for potential battle. Although they hoped the barrier would work, they had to be ready if it failed. On the lead Council pursuit ship, Commander Dravkor felt growing excitement. We're gaining on them. At current speeds, we'll intercept the human fleet in less than 6 hours. His second-in-command looked concerned. The humans must know we're here. Why haven't they increased speed or changed course? Perhaps they've reached their maximum velocity, Dravkor suggested. Or maybe they believe they can defeat us. He laughed at the thought. What Dravkor didn't realize was that the humans were leading the pursuit fleet into a trap. The Exodus fleet slowed as they approached a specific point in space. Generator Ship 7 dropped back, creating distance between itself and the rest of the fleet. All ships except 7, prepare for emergency FTL jump on my mark, ordered Fleet Commander Russell from the command ship. Generator Ship 7, begin barrier sequence when ready. Inside Generator Ship 7, a skeleton crew of volunteers remained to activate the device. Chief among them was Dr. Karen Ward, who had helped design the barrier technology. Dimensional field generators at full power, she reported, ready to activate on your command. Commander Russell took a deep breath. You are cleared to proceed, Generator 7. And thank you. Dr. Ward smiled sadly. It has been an honor serving with you all. For the future of humanity. She pressed the activation sequence. The massive generators throughout the ship began to power up, drawing energy from the ship's reactor. On the Council pursuit ship, alarms suddenly blared. Massive energy spike from the human vessel at the rear of their formation, shouted the sensor officer. Commander Dravkor leaned forward. What are they doing? Before anyone could answer, space itself seemed to tear open. A wave of blue-white energy expanded outward from Generator Ship 7, forming a wall that stretched across their path. Evasive maneuvers, Dravkor ordered, but it was too late. The dimensional barrier expanded faster than any ship could move, encompassing millions of cubic light-years of space in seconds. It separated the Council pursuit fleet from the human Exodus ships with an impenetrable wall that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The Council ships could only watch as the human fleet, now safely on the other side of the barrier, engaged their FTL drives and disappeared toward their destination. Scientists on the Council ships spent weeks studying the barrier. They discovered it was permanent, a fundamental alteration in the fabric of space-time that no known technology could breach. Commander Dravkor returned to the Galactic Council in defeat. We cannot follow them, he reported. They have created what our scientists are calling the Prometheus Veil, a dimensional barrier that may last for billions of years. The Council was profoundly shaken by this demonstration of technology beyond their understanding. In the aftermath, the progressive faction led by Elder Xanthu gained influence, arguing that the Council's fear and containment of humanity had been a grave mistake. Centuries passed. The Galactic Council reformed its policies regarding newly discovered intelligent species. The humans who remained on Earth eventually joined the Council on their own terms, but never revealed the location of their departed kin. Beyond the Prometheus Veil, human civilization flourished and evolved. Freed from outside interference, their latent abilities awakened fully. They spread across dozens of worlds, developing technologies and philosophies unlike anything seen in Council space. Occasionally, Council ships would visit the edge of the veil, studying it and wondering about the civilization that now existed beyond their reach. Some elder species whispered that humans hadn't fled out of fear, but rather to spare the galaxy from the inevitable clash of civilizations. They had become too advanced, too quickly, for the existing order to accommodate. And so the Council continued to observe the veil, waiting for the day when humanity might choose to return.